Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. We're here with Sauce. We're here to talk about a bit of round 14 Sauce and get into round 15 where we get the full fixtures back, all 9 games, with a couple that have actually moved because of the coronavirus. Not in Melbourne this time, but in Sydney.
Yeah, hey Pez. End of the bye rounds, as you said, getting into a full round of footy. I don't know if we'll be able to, our stamina, we'll be able to keep up with a whole round of footy, but probably one of the lacklustre rounds for the bye. Probably had one exciting game, basically, and the rest were sort of stock standard chip-aways, and not much out of the ordinary occurred. But Friday night, Pez set us up for an amazing round 14 with Gary Rohan, the only player in history to win a game after the siren twice.
The only player in history.
Only player in history, Gary Rohan.
Well, there you go. The other one was for Sydney against Essendon in the goal square when he got that mark and kicked it after the siren. So there you go, Gary Rohan. We'll talk about that kick then. We might as well. It's a kick to win the game. 1 point down. Would have been a draw. Kicked it. They won by 5 points. Now, Sauce, as soon as he kicked it, I thought that was missing to the right. I didn't even think it was going to score.
Yeah, he went through his... It was interesting. They were interviewing him after the game, and they interviewed him through the week, obviously, as you do when you can win a game off your own boot. And he said he was extremely nervous. He knew what he had to do, and he sort of... it was a huge kick, obviously, playing against a top 2 team, misses and it's a draw. But he was extremely confident. He went through his routine, and he actually said that he miskicked it a little bit, and it sort of went right, and it looked terrible, and then it swung back. But confidence, baby, confidence. And tell you what, do you know what was better than the kick, Pez? The celebration. Everyone in Geelong, Chris Scott included. My God.
Not everyone in Geelong. I didn't see much of a crowd there. Only 7,000 people.
Well, everyone. I could hear it from my place. I was watching it with Mum.
Now, you haven't been a fan of him, Sauce, but
he didn't kick it.
They showed a split screen of him celebrating his first win as Geelong coach and celebrating this win, and he is still as passionate as ever, and he was going nuts with the hugs and the things. His mask was coming up, and it was actually good to see.
Yeah, it was great to see, Pez. As you said, there was only 7,000 in the crowd, and it looked like he was almost getting into someone, but they've panned out a couple of times. There's no one there. He just is getting ecstatic, and it's one of the criticisms that I have of Scott, because obviously sometimes he does act like more of a supporter than he does an actual coach, but you got to love the reaction from Billy Brownless. They showed some of all the fans in there, and everyone was getting up, and Billy Brownless just the old, no problems, little wink, and then you turn over to the coach, and the coach is celebrating like a pork chop. But you got to love the passion. You love that he's behind the boys, and Pez... It was a great kick, great game, great finish, and I think it answered a lot of questions around the Bulldogs. We had some concerns about them being able to play some top teams. They were able to match it even despite a loss, but it makes September really interesting.
Well, no Treloar, no Dunkley, no Stephen Martin, and they've been able to take it up to Geelong down there at Geelong at GMHBA. So they've actually proven a lot to the footy world, even though they've gone down by 5, because they were leading when the siren went, and were actually a really good chance to win with a minute to go with the ball down the other end. So Geelong have a habit of doing that, especially over there. They did it to Melbourne a couple of years ago where Zach Tui stole it off them right at the end as well. So it's really hard to beat Geelong down there. Brisbane found that as well this year, earlier when they, Geelong won by a goal as well. So they're winning the tight ones, the Cats. They go to 10 wins for the season, same as the Bulldogs, and they're looking really good to get one of those top 2 spots.
Yeah, we talk all the time about Richmond's pedigree, and we talked about Hawthorn's pedigree when they were up and about, and Geelong are one of those teams who, a little bit of bias here, that they've been up and about for a long time. They've made 14 of the last, 18 prelim finals. Well, not prelim finals, but they've had the double chance at the end of the season. But this is what those young teams, Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs, and those teams that are up and coming, Port Adelaide and Brisbane, what they need to do is, you may not have to win every game by 50 points, but when it gets close, you go to your system, bang, 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 and give yourself an opportunity to win the game. And Geelong do this all the time. They always put themselves in a position to win in the last quarter, despite what they do throughout the game. We saw it earlier in the year against Brisbane. We've seen it against Port Adelaide. We've seen it against the Western Bulldogs this week. The system works, and it's hats off to Geelong for a bit of poise going into that forward line, because they could have butchered it Joel Selwood goes through the middle, has a really courageous sort of hip and shoulder and a tap on that sets up a Gary Rohan miracle shot for goal.
Yeah, with the game of the round, so many talking points from its source, so we'll spend a little bit more time on it. Speaking about Joel Selwood, involved in a couple of instances where he's got a first offence fine for both instances, if that makes sense. So he's had 2 indiscretions, and he's been fined for a first offence on both, which doesn't make sense to a lot of people.
It doesn't make sense. He could have actually been fined for another first offence. So 3 separate incidents, 3 separate classifications, I guess. Misconduct. There was misconduct. There was one about I don't know. Roughness, I guess.
He put I can't remember whose head it was. He put it into
Bailey.
Into the floor. Bailey. The other one, I don't think he got fined for it, but the studs in the leg that caused a bit of blood as well. We don't know if it was an accident or not. That's everyone to make their own opinion on that as well.
Yeah, I heard it described today perfectly. He has a professional way of being clumsy, Joel Selwood.
Yeah,
he seems to do it all the time, and I don't know if it's a dirty play or not. I don't think in that way. I think it's a strategic play to slow down, obviously, the movement. I don't think his intent would have been to put the studs into the bloke's leg. He was basically just trying to step on his foot to slow him down. The roughing in the ground, that's something that he gives out as much as he takes, but...
It's not on.
It's not on. It shouldn't happen.
He needed to get fined for that. And the studs, I actually think it was deliberate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was a deliberate ploy for him to stop the play. And I don't know if he deliberately stood on his leg or whatever, but he definitely tried to catch his body on the way through to stepping back.
Okay, yeah, most definitely. I think he definitely used his body to try and stop the play from moving on quickly. He disguised it quite well by looking at the umpire the whole time. I don't think he meant to lead with the studs, is probably what I was talking about in terms of not meaning to do it, but I do agree. I think he used it to slow down. Professional clumsiness is a good way to describe that, Pez.
Yeah, so Joel Selwood, he is going to be... I don't know if the word's tarnished or not, but a lot of people, when he is retired, as a champion of the game, all the Geelong fans are going to see him as an absolute superstar, coming and debuting in 2009, winning a premiership, and then being up there for so long. He needs another one, possibly, to cap off a really stellar career. But a lot of people on the outside of Geelong, they're going to see a really tarnished career with all these indiscretions, and especially the ducking for free kicks, which he gets accused for a lot.
Yeah, the ducking, is not something that is a part of his game, and it's one of those things where he's one of those typical catch-22 in every action he has a direct opposite thing. Everyone talks about he's been one of the most courageous players in the game, but then he also sort of leads with his head for free kicks. They also call him one of the best captains in the game, but then he does things that if he was on your team, you love because he's putting his body on the line, but at the same time, it does come across as, sometimes dirty, but he's in that sort of same, that Sam Mitchell sort of regime where it's like you will do anything to win.
He's stepping across the line, white line fever,
exactly,
and
right.
he's there to go.
But champion in the game, you can't deny that.
My view is not a fan of St Kilda. I think he is a superstar of the game, and the ducking of the high free kicks, it's not his fault because if he's getting the free kicks and that's how he's going to do it, he's going to continue to do that until the umpires stop doing that. So if the umpires and the AFL want to stamp it out, they would have stamped it out already and would have been doing it. He does do it on occasion where you see it and you're like, come on, mate, how did the umpire fall for that? So very interesting. The other thing that was interesting is, and a big blow to Geelong, is Mitch Duncan and an injury which could be season-ending source.
Yeah, 8 to 10 weeks, they say, which, with round 15, not too many rounds left. And he's one of those players that I don't think is overlooked in terms of the best 22 at Geelong or the best, players in the league. But his role is definitely underappreciated for what he does for Geelong. We do have a lot of balls that go through that midfield, but it looked sort of action where he sort of just landed. Originally, I didn't even think that he grabbed for it. I thought it was just the momentum falling down. They chucked the ice on. They activated the sub very quickly. Really, really crucial for Geelong's midfield, and played a big part in September last year. He plays a massive part in Geelong's midfield. A huge loss for the Cats.
Yeah, massive loss, and injuries may play a big part in September when we get down to the crux of it. The other thing I did want to mention about Geelong is since Jeremy Cameron's come into the side, I think they've looked a step above the rest of the competition. Just because of his poise. He kicked 2-2 on the weekend, but he's there, he's up the field, he's kicking it inside 50. He is a really great presence to back up Tom Hawkins, and people wondering if that was going to work pre-season. It works, and didn't Geelong need it?
Yeah, and I told you this in the preseason, Pairs. A huge fan of Hawkins. Anyone who watches a Geelong game, the amount of work that Hawkins did previous to Cameron Cumming, leading up the ground, it was almost the times where he was leading up the ground, being such a creator that he actually put himself in the wrong position to be able to receive a mark in the 50-metre line. And now they've got these two players that play almost identical, and
They gel so well together already.
they're like a yo-yo pairs. One goes up and one goes forward. The amount of times they're goal assisting to each other, it is perfect. And I think a lot more teams will look for we originally were calling them the Twin Towers, but they're not even close to that, pairs. They're these running forwards that cover the ground so well. They have great delivery into the forward line, and most of all kick goals. They're going to be a really hard forward line to beat in going into September if Tom Hawkins' back can stay into it, because he did twinge his GPS. I mean, his neck sort of
You know what?
area.
BT mentioned that,
Yeah.
and as soon as he did it, it actually looked like the GPS flicked him in the back of the neck, because it is at the top of the jumper at the back. And I actually said when I was watching the game, I was like, "What the GPS must have hit him, and he must have got a bit of a whiplash from it." But he actually was getting a heavy massage in that
He
fourth
looked
quarter.
extremely
Didn't know if he
uncomfortable.
was coming back on the field. But the other thing about Tom Hawkins, it allows him to be in the forward 50 more, and forward 50 stoppages. He's an absolute monster, and he's an artist at that as well, and every club needs one of those.
The thing is, right, he's easily our best ruckman in the forward 50. He's easily the strongest bloke in the field in most contests. He's an unbelievable shot for goal. He's a pretty decent rover and goal assist. Chuck him down defence, I'm sure he'd be great at that too. You need 10 of Tom Hawkins.
Yeah, he'd be good. And still on Geelong Source,
what a
but
great
we
game.
can't leave this game without talking about Tom Stewart. If this guy on Brownlow night does not get 3 votes, defenders, just give up. Just give up on even trying to get any votes. And how about we don't call it the Brownlow, or we do call it the Brownlow in brackets midfielders award, because if he doesn't get the 3 votes, there is something wrong with the umpires.
Pez, he and you and I are huge fans of Tommy Stewart. We've raved on about him ever since we started this podcast, when he came in with the untidy sort of hair, the tats, and the big stash, and just intercept marks and quarterbacks. A typical Matthew Scarlett backline player, where he just, he had 10 intercepts for the game, tied the all-time record for intercepts in a game. And they're not the intercept marks that you talk about, Pez, where they're just kicking straight to him. He goes and wins contests.
He's in the right spot.
He's in the right spots. He positions himself. But not only that, he then anchors himself forward to get 20 disposals, 24 disposals, and sets himself up for goal assists. I mean, he does it all, Pez, and it's an unbelievable backline there, and he is one of those integral parts. But what a performance for Tommy Stewart.
Yep, 10, as you said, 10 intercept marks and 15 intercept possessions. So even if the ball hits the floor, he's still going after it. He had 27 disposals, 24 of them kicks, because he is setting them up from that back line, and he was kicking it at 78%, which is really, really high, towards 80% there. So there's our little spiel on the Geelong.
And then that's the podcast for the week, Pez. I've enjoyed
Bulldogs
talking
game.
Geelong. I don't want to talk about any more footy. Let's
There's a
leave
bit
it
of
at that.
praise there for your Cats sauce, so you would have enjoyed that.
About time, mate. They don't get enough credit on the show.
I'm not sure you enjoyed the next game, but Gold Coast versus Port Adelaide, really disappointing from Gold Coast here. And the most disappointing thing is they've had 4 wins for the year. They sit at 86%, and they sit 16th on the ladder after people, including me, tipping them for the 8. I know injuries had a role to play, but there's some games that they've played in this year where they've just either given up or the other team has been way too strong. And to lose by 50 points at your home ground against Port Adelaide, who struggle against really top sides, I don't think it's good enough at the moment from Gold Coast.
Yeah, they're definitely a long way off, Pez. We saw the effort against Fremantle the week before, and they sort of were, it was an effort that probably should have rewarded a little bit more on the scoreboard. But the body language from the Suns was pretty terrible, Pez. They sort of got to half time, and it was just, okay, well, this is this is the Gold Coast that we saw, when they first came into the league, and they're young blokes, and they're used to getting pushed around a bit, but they just allowed themselves to get pushed around. That we just spoke about Tommy Stewart's effort down back. Aaliyah absolutely ran amok. He had 12 intercept marks, 20 disposals, and how's this from a backman? 5 score involvements. That's not good enough for the Gold Coast to allow a bloke like Aaliyah, who's not the quickest bloke when he's got the pill, just run wild. Like, he was able to do whatever he wanted from that back line. Port Adelaide were fantastic, but the body language from Gold Coast was disappointing. Is not even the right word, Pez, because it is 7 steps backwards, because it is exactly where they were 5 years ago.
they're just giving up the footy. They had 7 players, Port Adelaide, with 25 plus disposals. Ollie Wines being the best of those with 43 disposals, 8 marks, 6 tackles. So what a game from him. It was absolutely unbelievable. Big shout out to Stephen Motlop, who's rejuvenated his career, and he's very dangerous when he gets the footy in front of goals. He's an amazing set shot and doesn't get enough credit for it. But he doesn't get a lot of the footy usually. He had 26 disposals along with the 2 tackles as well. So Port Adelaide, we knew they were going to beat up on them. We knew the line was pretty low and they were going to, have a comfortable win by at least 5 goals. But for Gold Coast, it was just disappointing. And we've had their CEO or their president, Cochrane, on, was it Footy Classified or no, on the couch with Nick Rewalt. And they were going at it. He was going on about Nick Rewalt, about his club only having 1 premiership in 100 and something years.
A bit of a rough hit there.
On Rewalt, where Rewalt did everything he could in his time at the club.
It was a bit of a low blow from the Suns' CEO and president, and saying that simply, well, mate, how can you talk about success because your club's only won 1 premiership 140 years? Yeah. It's like, well, hang on a tick, mate. It's not Rewalt's fault. Rewalt's easily one of the most successful, captains and players of St Kilda's heritage. But
now, do you like what Cochrane was doing on the couch there? I thought he was deflecting everything away from where they're up to as a footy club and giving a lot of excuses out. Yeah,
Australia could have used him in the last Ashes, mate, because it would have been good to see someone defend anything coming there. But just deflecting and putting it back onto someone else doesn't earn respect in the AFL community, doesn't earn respect for your football club. And it's a little bit controversial because we want Gold Coast to take accountability. We want them to do what Hugh Greenwood is in every week, giving 15 or 20 tackles. We want them to compete. And when you're sitting there going, well, hang on a tick, don't look at me, handball to someone else so they can take the blame. It's exactly what we saw from the Gold Coast Suns with their body language. We didn't want to be there. Let's quickly get this over and done with, and let's look to next week. And it's not good enough. They need to face the facts. They need to have, they're a team that I'm sure had a couple of reviews, and there's a lot of teams who are having reviews at the moment. They need to have a player group review and have a good hard look at themselves and work out, one, whether they want to be there, playing for this.
Who's not showing the effort? Don't play them. Because look at the screen and don't play them because the effort is not there. It was there at the start of the year, Source. I know they were losing, they're having honourable losses, which still isn't good enough. But at least the effort was there for their supporters. And the effort's not there. They were able to go along to the ground and watch it on Saturday. And to be that disappointed, if you were a Gold Coast Suns fan, it's just not good for the footy club. And with talks of Tasmanian team coming in, possibly Northern Territory in Darwin or somewhere like that, the AFL seemed to have made a big mistake. Or is it the Gold Coast Suns that didn't use their concessions wisely?
Yeah, and I think you're right there, Pez, calling out the players that aren't doing it on the regular basis. Brandon Ellis had an ordinary game, but he's one of those ones that normally shows that effort. He only had 16 touches, but Port Adelaide had, did their homework. They stopped him, they stopped that run, but it's those middle of the range sort of players that you want to see step up and you want to see that growth. Like we can't continually be talking about Lockie Weller about to make a break. He needs to be averaging 20 a game. You've got Charlie Ballard, who's a young kid. He's now probably needs to be hitting that 20-25 mark a game. Matty Rouse come back from injury, but you expect a bit more from him. Lukosius, same sort of thing. The inconsistency from some of those middle of the tier blokes, and they're meant to be the senior players of that club, need to be better. Took Miller was amazing. He always is amazing. He always puts in that effort. I don't know what they do to fix it, Pez, without taking a good hard look at themselves. And, we said that their coach was the right person for the job, but maybe he isn't, because it looks like from what we saw early on in the Amazon documentary, one of those things that we credited him about was that he seems to have those players' respect, but the last 2 weeks the effort hasn't been there, and that directly goes to, have they got buy-in? Yeah,
and there has to be no excuses here. They have to just get on to the next week and continue to go there. One team that is putting in the effort, Source, at the moment, with only 1 win for the season, is North Melbourne. They actually led at half-time due to a inaccurate Brisbane Lions down at Tasmania. So North on their home deck don't look half bad.
Yeah, it was an interesting game, this one, because the Lions basically played down to North Melbourne's level. And North Melbourne, you've got to, as you said earlier in the year, Pez, the benchmark for them is every week to beat the line. They've done that the last 5 weeks. They've beat the line. They haven't been getting thumped because you can't put a 50 mark, 60 mark, and Sportsbet and all those betting agencies get it pretty right. They're beating the line, so they're putting in the effort, but they're bringing down the opposition to their level. They're putting it into a real sort of a scrub fest. They're really making every contest hard. They're showing that effort that we're asking Gold Coast to show. Now, Gold Coast on paper have more talent. North Melbourne are sort of the drigs and drags, and they're looking for a rebuild. They're looking for draft picks, but they were really fantastic. But, it was because the Lions were inaccurate early. I'd be interested to see how that game goes if they had a 30, 40-point lead at halftime. Like, they probably should have, the Lions.
Oh, and possibly could have. And I don't know, they're not used to playing down there at Tasmania. They did lose to Hawthorn there a couple of years ago as well when they were up and about. But Tarrant, it's good to see him back. Robbie Tarrant for North back in the back line. Goldstein does his job every week. He had 53 hitouts on the weekend, Sauce. So he got the chocolates there in the ruck. So we're able to score some goals in that first half. But one person I did want to speak about is Jack Zeeble anywhere in your All-Australian side?
No.
He's averaging over 30 disposals a game. Most of them are kick-ins.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so
that tells you about the insufficient stats, Pez.
Insufficient stats. Yeah, he is getting those disposals, but what is he doing with them? He's a long kick, and some of them being turned over. You've got to actually look at that. But a lot of media outlets talking about him being All-Australian and in All-Australian contention. I think there's a lot better players out there because he is one that just goes to that goal square, kicks out every single time and plays on to make sure he just can kick it as long as he can.
Yeah, and it's, again, we go back to the skill level with some of these poorer teams. When he's not when the skill level isn't there from the people he's kicking to and even him sometimes, they're not going to be, good touches in terms of turning around and resulting in goals. But you spoke about kick-ins, Pez. There's one thing I want to talk about is that third quarter, there were an incredible 6 out-on-the-bound deliberates or insufficient attempts called in that third quarter alone. 6, Pez. Disgusting.
They love it, the umpires, on the weekend. Only 5 games, and I think it was one of the biggest rounds for this insufficient intent rule. Wherever there was no one near the ball, bang, insufficient intent. I'm calling that, and let's keep the game going.
But the North Melbourne game, Pez, we saw not only that one, we also saw the one where I've got the ball, I go to take on you, Pez, I realise I can't beat you, so I walk over the line, and then they've pinned the insufficient attempts, and the perceived pressure.
You haven't seen that this year.
You haven't seen that a lot, but the umpire was red hot on this. Maybe they were just trying to keep keep warm down there by moving their arms around and getting a little bit more involved. But it's not something that I liked in the game, Pez. It's exciting here and there when it is, when you can see that the player's intent is to kick it out. But when they're kicking up the line and the ball bounces at right angles and slides, especially the ice rink that is, Bloodstone Arena, it's not for me a rule that I want to see sort of flourish.
No, it's not. And defenders actually use that to an advantage when someone's coming to tackle them and deliberately go out. But you can't really call that as insufficient intent there. But Brisbane get their 9th win of the season. They moved to 36 points with a healthy percentage of 128. So they're in the top 4 at the moment on percentage over Port Adelaide. But I think Port Adelaide may miss out on that top 4 source because of some of their little performances this year against top 4 sides. So we move on from Tasmania and go to a really disappointing Carlton side. Where GWS were favourites in this match, ended up winning by 36 points. Carlton had a bit of a run to come back when they had a big loss there, and they kicked multiple goals in a row, but GWS just at the end kicked out again. And when is it going to be not good enough from Carlton, and when are the fans going to stop believing in what's going on, and when is change going to happen at Carlton Footy Club?
They keep talking about change and growth, and Teague's been flapping on about that for a little while now. Since they beat Essendon's turned their season around, and we continually see the same effort and the same output and the same result for Carlton. It's almost like we spoke about body language earlier with the Gold Coast, that they expect to get thumped. Carlton, you watch their game and it's like, we expect to be in the game and we expect to be competitive for some of it, but in the end, we're just going to lose it. And that's exactly what happens and it's been happening not just for this year, Pairs, and last year. It's 3 or 4 years now that the effort is just so sporadic and it's inconsistent that it's resulting this mundane sort of, we'll give you 70 minutes of or 70% of effort for a game, and we'll make it probably a 3 or 4 goal most weeks so that we And they're just accepting it, Pez. It's just not good enough. But I don't want to take anything away from the GWS Giants here. They really brought it back.
Not Finlayson and Toby Greene.
Toby Greene.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to be talking about Carlton for the next 3 or 4 years with their inconsistency and the effort and everything, because until they fix it and they make some proper changes and they have a list evaluation, there's nothing really we can talk to.
And before we go into Toby Greene a little bit more, Zach Williams, the big recruit, $800,000 a year, came over as a defender from GWS, playing against his own side, had 11 disposals. Fox Footy highlighted, outside of the pack, lazy footballer, doesn't run for the contest, doesn't run in defence, and to only have 11 disposals against his own side, 1 tackle.
But we talked about this at the start of the year with his recruit, Pez.
$800,000 they're paying him to play in the midfield.
That's not his problem. That's not his fault, though. That goes back to exactly what we said about Carlton. Like, that's a poor decision. Bringing him in, that cash, you shouldn't play that cash, right? But bringing him in, he needs to be a finishing touch. Not a like.
He needs to be dropped, is what he needs to be.
It's not good enough from Carlton, Pez. They shouldn't have brought him across there because they had a proper evaluation of their list. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for him to be playing out of position and trying to pay $800,000 to train into a midfielder in his peak of his prime.
When he was a good running defender for GWS over the years.
Well, they were playing him in the midfield for the first half of the year.
And that's what they're doing, Carlton. I don't know what's happening. Another question that came out of this game from Mind Source, a question without notice. Good old Matty De Boer, back from injury. He's played on Sammy Walsh, kept him to 20 disposals, only 6 of those kicks. And he had 12 tackles and 16 disposals himself. So he did a really good job. And we always know he does a really good shutdown role. And if you're playing against GWS, you always think, who is he going to tag that I can't really rely on for disposals this week? Is the art of the tagger, is it dead? Or is someone going to rejuvenate it with either a younger player or a player that's a little bit older that just tackles hard, works hard, and just shuts someone down, not even worrying about getting the footy?
I mean, I think what De Boer does well that makes his role not dead and his his description as a tagger not dead is that he doesn't only just give you the niggles and make everything a contest, but he gives you possessions as well. Like, he's basically playing a one-on roll. He's getting 16 posies. He averaged probably 15 posies a game. He's giving you the tackle, so he's giving you that outlay. In terms of the lockdown defender, just to stop someone from getting the pill, there is no team in the league where one player makes that big a difference, where you're going to sacrifice your offensive game and your own system for that. So,
there's a couple of players that make a really big difference in terms of Dustin Martin and Toby Greene.
But they can't be tagged. You know what I mean? Like, the thing
they
is,
just go forward.
People are like, they used to say it with Gary Ablett. It's like, do you tag Gary Ablett? Like, no, we'll just use a system to stop everything else.
Well, that's what they did at Gold Coast. Gary Ablett was getting 50 every week.
and with a tag.
And they were losing by a hell of a lot because they worried about everything else, yeah.
And that's where you're probably right. The tagger role is dead. But what De Boer does for the Giants is he gives them not only he makes the other midfielders work and the star players for the other teams work, but he also gives you that outlet. And he's a good part of their midfield, especially with all those other possession grabbers. And he sets themselves up nicely to get to some of the stars of the game, Pez, their own Toby Greene and Finlayson. 5 goals and 4 goals, but respectively.
How good is Toby Greene's hands?
How good is Toby Greene?
I know a lot of supporters hate him, Source. We've always loved him down here. My mate that goes for the Bulldogs actually gave me a Toby Greene card because he had got it in his footy card back, and he said, I don't like this bloke. So I put it in the back of my iPad where I take it to work. So it's always there, along with the Nick Rewalt one. But just love watching Toby Greene play, his passion. And early on, we've spoken about this before, he was a little bit abusive towards the umpires and the decisions that were being made. And he has done so well because he does not get calls. He is one player in the league that they do not want to give him easy free kicks or any free kicks. And whatever happens, he gets pushed over the line, he gets landed on in the back, he just stands up, goes up forward or goes into the midfield wherever he's playing, does not say a word to the umpires.
He's everything you want from a player, Pez, and as someone watching AFL, he's everything you want as a general football supporter to enjoy. He does the miraculous, he does some things that you sit there and you're like, whoa, that was dumb. And then he does some absolutely brilliant, just skill level wise. He had 8 marks, he had 20 disposals. He's only a small bloke in stature, but the heart that he wears on the sleeve and the effort he gives is, you can't deny it. But then there's some other things that he does, and you're like, how the hell did you think to even attempt or try that? It may not always come off, but you're like, I don't think I'd see that on the football field. He's an exciting prospect of the game. We love him here at Behind the Boundary, Pez, and it's good to see him not get sucked into everything else, the basic bullshit of football. All he does is he knows what his team needs him to do, and he goes out and does that every week, including a 67-metre torpedo to win the first quarter. Oh, Pez.
Great captain as well.
Great captain
as well. And every goal he kick, you can say it's a captain's goal.
Captain's goal, mate. Especially when it's Toby Greene.
the next game, how good's this for footy fans? 5 games, Sauce. 2 of them were in Tasmania. One of our favourite venues down there. 2 different venues in Tasmania. So this was at the University of Tasmania Stadium. Hawthorn took on Essendon. And I thought Essendon were on top of them early. Hawthorn niggled their way back, but Hawthorn were 1-6 at one stage in that second quarter, Sauce. They wasted opportunities. Then they kicked 3 in a row. They kept going topsy-turvy back in the game, and Essendon were able to shut them out in the end. It was 10-13, so 23 scoring shots to Hawthorn to 21. So Hawthorn were in it, up to their noses, and just couldn't get over the line, and Essendon, comfortable 13-point win in the end.
Yeah, I like the way you put comfortable there, Pez. The people in Tasmania came out to see, a great contest, and they show that if you put marquee games in there, they will show up. 14,000 people rocked up for the game.
A lot of Essendon fans.
A heap of Essendon fans for a Hawthorn home game.
Maybe they need to move to Tasmania.
I just think that, if Tasmania get their own team, they'll probably get 14,000 there, and it sounds like a decent sort of ground to hold that crowd, which is exciting. But, you said a comfortable, 13-point win, Pez, because it was that. Like, Essendon watching this game, even despite Hawthorn's inaccuracy, didn't really look like they were going to lose it until that fourth quarter, when you thought, you know what, Hawthorn are still hanging around here, maybe they might steal one, but Essendon, they just did what they had to do. It was a very routine win. It's one of those wins that you wouldn't be talking about Essendon at the start of the year. We both had them in the bottom 4, and their list is definitely overperforming at the moment. They've got a couple of young kids who are doing really well, and
Harrison Jones, really impressive up forward, strong hands as well. For Essendon, so shout out to him because he was really great. Parrish was a bit quiet. He had 24 and a goal, so a bit quiet than his 30 touches. But the big talk this week is a $700,000+ contract, and what is Jake Stringer going to get? He kicked 4 goals, played a lot in the midfield, and we know when he goes in the midfield in the previous seasons, he's an absolute monster and a beast. He's so strong, but he just never has the stamina. He had 29 disposals, 4 goals, 1. He had played a 3-vote game, but playing 1 game, Sauce, does that get the $700,000, $800,000 talk? But
I think what you're starting to see with Stringer is some maturity, Pez. We spoke about this in the Dreamtime game. There are a couple of incidences where he was, one-on-one around the boundary line, Eddie Betts sort of territory, and the sort of the unbelievable sort of attempt. And he actually is now starting to centre the ball. He's starting to do the team things. He's starting to, you can see him. There was a lot of criticism early on in his career, the package, about him being very one-dimensional, all about me. And,
I hate that nickname, the package as well.
The parcel, mate, because he never delivers, right? And basically, he's starting to deliver on what the club and what teams want to see from him. He's a big, bustly midfielder who can give you 20 disposals. He doesn't need to get 29 and 4 every week. Give you 20, Toby Greene, 20 disposals, 23, 24, get a couple of snags, but put your team in position to score, and we're starting to see that maturity. If he continues this for the back end of the year, I can see teams who are in that premiership window wanting him, and if Essendon really believe in the workload that he's putting into, then he could get himself a big contract.
From the outside, or sitting on the outside, seeing him and the type of bloke he is, whoever offers him the most money, that's where he's going, I reckon. I don't think he's got any loyalty towards anyone, but played a good game. He's got to keep it up for the rest of the season. The other one I wanted to speak about, Sauce, is Nick Hind. Played a fantastic game, having a really good season. He was a St Kilda forward, and they're playing him up forward, the speedster there. He's playing off half-back, so he's not really one-on-one defending, but they are trying to get the ball in his hands every single time. He's running through the middle. The goal he kicked was absolutely beautiful. He kicked it off half-back, and then there was another disposal before he got it back and went a goal from 50 on the run. He's having a really good season.
He's having a great season, Pez. 25 disposals and that goal you spoke about. He really offers some dash. And geez, he's got some pace about him. And that's what Essendon do. They have a fast brand of footy. They're leaning into the cattle that they've got there, Pez, and they're creating an exciting brand of footy. They're only a couple of wins out of the actual 8, so they might break that drought, Pez. You were sort of sceptical. I was sceptical about the run that they can do in finals, but if they can get this together, Pez, question without notice, can that fast brand exciting football? They've taken it to some of the best teams. They've taken it West Coast. They've taken it to Richmond. They got blown out in a Richmond sort of effort at the end of that game. But Can they make any damage in September, or
They're
will
not
they
good
just be
enough.
making up numbers?
They're not good enough. They're not making September. They're not good enough to do that. And I think the 8, not so much sent, but I think GWS have a chance to get in there. But the only one you could see really dropping out would be the Sydney Swans. And I think the Sydney Swans are going to win enough games to be in there. So I think GWS are the only team that can come in. Richmond will win enough. West Coast will win enough. Port will win enough. So Sydney there, but I don't think Essendon will make the finals. We can replay this if they do. I've got one thing that really pisses me off at the moment. Can I tell you what it is?
Go for it, mate.
Commentary. Eddie Maguire.
Not a fan.
Did you watch the game?
Yeah, watch the game.
He just raises his voice, and his voice just really annoys me and pisses me off, and I do not like it. It's like he's fake yelling when he doesn't need to be fake yelling. Just call the game and stop trying to act overexcited when nothing's actually happening in the game.
Yeah, he's trying to do the old Brayshaw, mate, because Brayshaw does it fantastically. Because
Does it a lot better.
You can hear the genuine excitement in his voice. I actually really like Eddie Maguire as a commentator, but you are right. Trying to make excitement out of nothing by just raising your voice and not even really changing the tone, just changing the volume, it's not enjoyable to listen to, and you're right, it is.
Mate, I get home from work, and if I turn the TV on, it's on Channel 9, it's on Hot Seat, I'll turn it straight over because I'm sick of hearing him, even if he's not trying to yell on Hot Seat there, because I've had enough of his voice and his stupid comments on commentary.
All right, Pez. Just not a hot seat fan. All right. We're lucky that we've only got coin toss, mate. We don't have any hot seat where it's a minute of answer, but. That wraps up round 14 and a 5-game round, Pez. Finally, we're back into a range of good things coming into round 15 because we've got no more buys. We've got Thursday night footy back, Pez, Friday night footy, and we're heading into the best part of the season because it is, you said, and as you alluded to, there are a lot of teams fighting for the top 8. There's some really important games heading towards top 4 spots. You ready to get into it, Pez?
Well, we have to get into it. First thing we'll do is we'll do our bet review.
Soft review, it's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
Let's go through this week, Source. We both had a stellar week. Let's be honest. We made an excuse last week that we were on holiday a bit on the bye. Our head wasn't really in it. We need a mid-season break as well, so we did that the week before. But the first game was Geelong at Western Bulldogs, and after this game, we both probably thought this isn't going to be a very good round because I had the max 50 on Geelong to win, Geelong minus 7.5, and Geelong plus 36.5. The reason I had those 3 legs pretty similar is because if 2 of them got up and 1 of them failed, I got a bonus bet. So Geelong ended up winning by 5 after the siren. Could have gone either way. Minus 7.5 didn't quite happen, which was disappointing. So lost the 50. Got a bonus, which I also used in this round.
Yeah, that's going to be the trend for me, Pez. I failed 1 leg this week on most of my bets, and this one was no different. I had Geelong at the line, which is the one that failed. I had a anytime goal scorer for Tom Hawkins, and our big man, Tommy Stewart, as I've been saying, Pez, raving on all year about him to get 20.
I'm sure some listeners had Tommy Hawkins for 2, mate. And he marked one about 10 metres out at the top of the goal square and just handballed it off into the goal square for an easy goal. He always does that kind of stuff.
He always does. Number 1 in goal assists over the last 10, 15. I think he's actually number 1 in the comp for the last 4 or 5 years. But
unbelievable.
The cumulative numbers for him, that's why it's really tough having him for 2 goals. But bonus bet for me, Pez. We get on to the Suns versus the Power game, Pez. And same again for me. I had a bonus bet in this one. I had Brandon Ellis not turning up. He only got 16. I needed him to get 20, so that made me with a bonus bet for $25.
What were the other 2 legs there?
Landon's to get 15. Got it basically on the last possession of the day. And Carl Amon to get 20. And
who's
wow,
great value at the moment.
He got 20 in the first quarter almost.
Sitting at $1.36 this week for 20, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm pretty sure it'll be in both of our bets coming up into round 15. That was free money for me there, Source. A line of minus 14.5 against the struggling Suns. Really enjoyed that line. Had the max 50 on it to return 95.
Yeah, that was a great pick by you, Pez. Speaking of great pick, and you questioned why I had a 6-leg game multi.
I did.
And Pez, it was all chocolates for me because I put in 4 goal scorers, and with the way the game was going, I thought I was in strife. But Hipwood, Cameron, Danaher, and Bailey all kicked goals. Hugh McCluggage to get 25.
Only kicked 9 as a team.
Hey,
and you picked 4 of them.
Hey, the last 6 weeks, they've all kicked goals. That's incredible. And I had Bailey for 15. So
you got 29.
I only had 15 in that one, Pez, because I was super confident with the 5 of the 6 legs. They gave me 54 return.
But that was good to get up. I only gave you 360 that little multi.
Because they're money for jam, those ones, Pez.
And you just wanted it to be like that. So I had my cheeky, I thought Hipwood was going to have a big day and kick 5. Disappointing down there. There's no way he's kicking 5 after that first quarter.
No way, Pez. And I'm glad I didn't listen to you in that one, but I should have not listened. I should have listened to your advice in the next game, because I escaped with another bonus bet. I had Toby Greene for 15, Haynes for 15.
Got it.
Josh Kelly for 25. And you said that I was a little bit worried about Taranto to get 25.
I was worried about him.
And I said the last 5 weeks he's got 25. And do you know what your response was? Well, last week he only got 26. And this week he fell short.
Yeah, they got 24.
So I was very, very close again, but no cigar.
Interesting in that one, Source, because I actually messaged you before the game and I said, geez, they must have listened to you on the pod because he's over-underlined.
28 and a half.
28 and a half. That was too high.
Way too high.
That was too high. So
he's
that
good
was
for 25, except for this week.
That was good money there. Interesting to see if you've got it in the next round. I didn't have a bet there, unfortunately. It would have been pretty easy money if you had put that in there with Toby Greene to kick a couple of goals or something and GWS to win. But the next game was the Hawthorn versus Essendon game, Source, and I put this one out live on Twitter because I didn't have a bet beforehand. So I put this with my bonus bet for Suns Power, which lost by 1 leg. Jack Bowes not turning up and getting 20. But this one, it was just a Neds one, and I enjoy doing this on Neds, Source. So I've put the alternate total points and the alternate lines. So I've put them all together. I had over 147.5 points, which it got up. Hawthorn plus 42.5. I thought there's no way they're getting blown out. Essendon plus 17.5 and under 197.5 because they weren't scoring 200 up there at Tasmania. So that together was $2.19. Put 25 on it, returned 54.75. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, you would be happy with that, Pez. A little sneaky way to sort of rig the system and sort of get some good value in there. I had value galore in this one, Pez, but all 3 legs failed. Didn't get close in anything. I had Essendon 40 plus. No chance. Darcy Parish to get 35. He struggled to even get 25. Kale Hooker to get 2 or more goals. I don't even know if he went near the ball.
He did not get one.
So that was a good for me. That was the only one that that I didn't miss 1 leg, Pez. I missed all 3.
We'll enjoy the next one because the next one was our multi-source right at the end. I just had a 3-legger one on Sportsbet with the special. Didn't need the special in the end. Geelong after the siren win, $1.62.
Yep.
Always there. Port Adelaide to win $1.43, which was really good money. They went into about $1.30 before the bounce.
$1.36 is where I got them.
And Brisbane $1.15, which was a little bit worried in that second quarter, but they kicked away and won pretty comfortably in the end. So I had 25 on that, returned 66.60. Happy with that.
Loving that, Pez. I put 20 down on all 5 games, Pez, and just like my footy tips, Pez, all 5 winners I picked for a nice return of $133.52, and I loved that.
You gotta love that because that means big profits. So round 14 Source. I staked 150 in the end with that extra $25 bet that I put on. And I've used my bonus bet as well, so I'm not using that this round. Return $216.35 for a return on investment, healthy, 44.23%.
Very healthy.
For the total for the season for mine, $2,585 and return $2,888.30. Hopefully that can go over the 3,000 mark this week, Source. And return on investment over 10% again, so 11.73%.
Loving that, Pez. For round 14, I staked $95 and just on my multi alone cleared that. For return, $187.52. A more than healthy, Pez. Ecstatic with the ROI in this one. 97.38%, which is absolutely Mickey Mouse, what I wanted, which means for the season I've staked $2,345 flat, returned $2,478.26 with an ROI of 5.68%, Pez. And I can see in the emoji, Pez, I am back with some water. I don't know how that makes any sense at all, Pez, but I can see you've got the hospital emoji there because you're obviously getting your head checked from last week, and you might be in the psych ward there because it makes no sense. I had 5%, I had water. And then I won a round and I got no water. So I got further away from the hotel and now I'm back to water. So I don't know if what's happening, Pez?
Mate, you only had an umbrella in one of them where you were 1.81% up. You've climbed up. You've got back over 5%. So you get a little bit of water and a little bit of sand to relax on.
But I'm a little bit confused with the analogy that we were going with. I thought we were building hotels.
We're trying to build a hotel, but you can't build a hotel under 10%.
Well, but I don't know why am I going out and getting stuck at sea or something? Am I going fishing? Why am I getting water?
You should be happy you're on the bloody island.
What's with the hospital, Pez? You're building hospitals now.
That's a hotel.
That's a hospital. It's got a little love heart on top.
Why would a hospital have a love heart?
For health. That's what the health app has on an iPhone.
Don't you worry about that, mate. That's a nice little hotel, and that'll be building up nicely, continuing on. So 11.73%, aiming to continue climbing.
All right, well, let's see if you can keep true to your word, Pez, in our bet slip.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Our bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Now, Pez, last week you opened up the specials by talking about a business proposition and an advertisement that was in your letterbox, Jimmy Brings.
Yep.
And the moment I got home, I jumped on my phone and there was an ad for Jimmy Brings. So not only is he hijacking your letterbox, straight into my app, and still no sponsorship. A little bit disappointing from Jimmy Brings.
No sponsorship. That's really disappointing, but we will get into the specials anyway.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
And Jimmy Brings isn't the only disappointing thing here. Where's Finster? All I do at night is sit there and refresh the inbox. Nothing comes through for the specials. I don't like it at all. What is happening?
I'll tell you what, though, he's probably started his own little hotel business because his little multi that he gave us last week came up chocolates, 2 goals for Georgialis, 2 goals for Dixon, and some other person he put in there for, I think, Port Adelaide to win at halftime. He cleared that.
That'd be fantastic, but it doesn't count because he hasn't given us any specials. He's not doing anything. So, Finster, you're still on 0%. Don't worry about that. We'll get into the specials from Sportsbet. Kick a goal in the first 2 minutes, you win. Thursday and Friday matches source this week, if you like that. 3+ leg same game AFL multi is here, so that's why we continue to go with Sportsbet source. It's up to 3 refunds per match, which is absolutely fantastic. Tab have 3+ legs, 1 fail Thursday, Friday night, and they've also got the 3+ leg head-to-head multi-special, which I'm sure some of us will take a bit of advantage of. Head over to Ladbrokes. They've got $2 lines for Thursday, Friday games. Now, they could always add more come Saturday. Okay, so you do have to check back if you want to see any of that. You head over to Ned's. They've also got the $2 lines because they're the same company, but they've also added in the Thursday, Friday, same game multi, 3+ bonus back. We don't need to speak about points bet, and there we go.
There we go, Pez. Let's get into Thursday night footy as we spoke about in the preview, Pez, or sorry, the review from last week and the preview for this week. Super exciting. Thursday night football is back. This one is at the Gabba. Top of the table clash. A big couple of weeks for Geelong, and a sort of mixed result for Brisbane, playing a bottom team and now playing one of the top teams. So Brisbane take on Geelong. Brisbane coming in favourites, $1.68. The Cats are the outsiders, $2.19. The line is -5.5, Pez. The over-under is 162.5. And the game for this one is 7:30. So they brought it forward 20 minutes because of all the quarantine and airport rules. So it'll be interesting.
Thinking about bedtime for kids or something.
No, they're thinking about the airport, Pez, and because the extra 30 minutes, it wasn't enough time to recover and get to the airport, so they wouldn't be able to quarantine in time. But this should be an absolute cracker.
It should be, but I don't know why the companies have got this wrong, Source, with the odds, because the barometer, he's been omitted.
Oh.
The barometer for Brisbane, he's out.
Should be $1.90 each
How
way. Should
are
be
they
flat.
going to win? No, Dane Zorko comes in for Reece Matheson, and Mitch Duncan out injured. Quinton Narkle also omitted, so Higgins stays in the side as a medi-sub last week, and Lockie Henderson comes into the side, which is an interesting one to come in for Mitch Duncan and Quinton Narkle, who aren't those big type of players. So they must be a little bit worried about Brisbane's forward line and putting Lockie Henderson, another big body, in there.
Yeah, as you would be. That's one of the sort of flaws that not flaws, but there's one of the things that we do question with Geelong is whilst they are really great at intercepting the mark and they're sort of, setting up their offense from their defense, they can let a couple of big body forwards take advantage of them, and that was the concern last week with Norton. They did well shutting that down. They'd be very concerned with Brisbane's forward line, tall timbers down there, Pez.
Exactly right. I'm hoping for a really close game here, Source. So I've gone to Ned's and done my little alternate trick. So I've got 3 legs, and I will get a bonus back if only 2 of them get up, Source, on the Thursday night special with Ned's. I've got Brisbane plus 18.5. So, can't lose by more than 3 goals. And I've got Geelong plus 25.5. So they can't lose by more than 25 points. And I'll put the over to be over 129.5. I think it'll get over 130 points pretty easily. So all that together gets me odds of $2.13. Whack the max 50 on it, and I'm hoping to enjoy a nice game on the couch tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'd be good to enjoy football back to Thursday night footy, Pez. I agree with you, that line is really low. Even the line that they've actually done there at 162.5, I think that's a really low line. If I wasn't going to go with my bonus bet, Pez, I would chuck some money on that one anyway. So I love your 122 line. But Pez, I'm just going straight up with my bonus bet, $25 on the Cats to win, $2.19, hopefully to make $29.75 back. And it's a free hit for me, Pez, and I think this game really is a 50-50 game. I love my Cats, so I don't know why you'd expect me to go anywhere else.
No, I did not expect to go anywhere else. But how good is it having a 97% profit last week for you, Sauce? And 3 bonus bets to play with this week.
3 bonus bets.
That's
I
pretty
bet you I
nice.
go 0% for them, so it'll be no good for me. But speaking of teams that we don't want to have a no percent effort from, Pez, is your Saints. And they come up on Friday Night Football. The Tigers taking on your Saints. This game is at the MCG. Some late scheduling changes. Again, it's going to be a 7:20 start, I think, that they moved it to, Pez. A little bit unsure. We're looking at 20%, 25% crowd capacity, which is great to have fans back at the G to watch the Tigers take on the Saints. The Tigers come in favourites at $1.18. The Saints outsiders at $4.95.
Yep.
Minus 27.5 is the line, and the over/under again very low, 152.5.
Well, big line, it's all you can expect. But a 750 time slot, Sauce, at the MCG there. And St Kilda, they've had the bye. They've come off the bye, and apparently they've had some home truce between the players, and they're going to come out and fire this week or whatever. But you're never going to believe that until you see it. Rowan Marshall apparently underdone, but apparently will play. And he is one of our most important players, along with Paddy Ryder. So it's very interesting to see how they will go against this star-studded Richmond side. Richmond wouldn't want to put a step wrong here, just sitting inside the 8 there, Sauce. They do need to continue to win games, and this is a very winnable game. Now, Richmond aren't known for absolutely slaughtering teams. They did slaughter St Kilda earlier in the year by 86 points. So interesting if they can do that again on their home deck at the MCG. St Kilda haven't played in the MCG much over the last few seasons, and not only due to COVID, that's just scheduling. They don't usually play over there. So I think Richmond win pretty comfortably. I think the line's about right at 27.5 because you don't know what St Kilda's going to turn up and what effort they're going to put in. Still a few injuries and things like that. So I would, if I had to bet, I'd go Richmond at the line, I reckon.
Yeah, and I'm following that exact trend, Pez. Going over to Ned's, $2 lines, and you can actually get it at minus 26.5. I did say 27.5 on the pod. We go off Sportsbet because that is the biggest market there. So a little bit of extra value, not only in terms of the amount that I'm getting, but also the dollar amount too. I get an extra 10 cents. The Richmond in the back end of the season, what do they do, Pez, at the back end of the season?
They have to win. They have to
win.
try. They have to.
But that's what they do. From round 15 onwards, they set themselves up. That's the only time that they care about football.
But backs to the wall as well. They
Backs to
need
the
to
wall,
win.
on the G, back returning with fans. It's going to be a cracking game, and I reckon they rise to the occasion. So lock me in for minus 26.5. I think they get the job done.
I wish it was a Saturday twilight, so we're not on the main stage there. The Saints. They would have thought last year this might be a really good game because they did play off in the second week of finals last year and had a pretty good contest. But
mate, if Carlton have another performance like they have been, that's the only thing that will escape you guys from being the front page Herald Sun story on Monday morning if you get blown out.
We're already going to get blown out. That's ridiculous. But we'll get into Collingwood and Fremantle. Footy, as you say, back in Melbourne. It's a marvel.
Yeah, and this one, on my rundown, I've actually got the North Melbourne Gold Coast first there, Pez, but it's the same time slot, so we'll go the Melbourne game first. Collingwood taking on the Fremantle Dockers. Fremantle with Robert Harvey first go at the reins, $1.68 favourites with Fremantle, the outsiders, at $2.20. Minus 5.5 is the line in favour of the Pies, and over under 151.5, Pez. We don't know lineups for this one, but it's a really interesting line that, especially 5.5, Fremantle probably playing some better football than Collingwood, but all dependent on Nat Fyfe, surely.
Yeah, you'd expect him to come back in, and the Fremantle are expecting him to come back in. And Taylor Adams has been followed at training this week, and he's got to pass the fitness test to see if he'll be in the side. Really important to that Collingwood midfield. You think Harves just goes ahead and names himself in the side? Has a run around?
He's probably fit enough to, Pez, and I wouldn't put it past him to jump on the field at three-quarter time and be like, you boys are not showing any effort. This is how it's done, lads. But hopefully he doesn't have to, and hopefully they can show him the same sort of effort that they showed Bucks in his last game.
Yeah, Fremantle on the road. Don't love them on the road. So
not at the G either.
Elliott It's at Marvel.
Marvel, sorry.
Elliott been in the side for 2 weeks, and if Taylor Adams does come back in, this is what I'm banking this bet on, because obviously we're doing the bets on a Wednesday night source and teams aren't out. So I've got a 3-leg same game multi, 1-leg fails, you get a bonus back. I've got Collingwood 1-39, Brody Myercheck to get a goal, and Luke Ryan in defence to rack up 20 disposals there. That gives me $3.25 all up. I've put 20 on it, Source.
I don't mind that bet at all, Pez. I've got a 3-leg same game multi. I've whacked 25 on it at $2.10. Caleb Poulter, he's been, ever since he's come into the Collingwood side, that he has had 15 or more disposals in every game, and he is $1.32 to get that. So I've put him in. Steele Sidebottom to get 20, Adam Chera to get 20 as well. Both of those players should get that. That gives me $2.10 as said, and $52.50 is going to be looking very nice in my account after this game.
You'll enjoy that. So on your rundown was the other way around, but my rundown wasn't. So North and Gold Coast, and am I seeing things? North are favourites.
What value this is, Bez. North Melbourne, after their really, really impressive blowout against Brisbane in Tasmania, they come in as favourites. Probably the first time this year, $1.64 favourites. Gold Coast Suns, $2.26. The line is 6.5. Over under is 160.5. Pez, can North Melbourne, should they be favourites is probably the first question.
Well, I think some of the reason they are favourites is because of how bad Gold Coast are travelling, but also they're going to be without Captain David Swallow, and they're going to be without Lockie Weller. So they're going to be injuries there. So if they've already got 2 outs, is Stuart Dew actually going to make a statement and drop any other players? I'm not sure. But they've still got King, Ranking. They've got Miller in the midfield. They've got some of these players that can do it. Greenwood's got that tackling pressure. They've got the defenders. They've got Lukosius. If they use him, he's a beautiful kick of the footy. So can they still win? I don't know. It's down in Tasmania, which is probably the biggest factor of why North are favourites. I'm not sure who's going to win. So I've stuck away from the results, and I've just gone disposals in my bet here, Source. I've gone a 3-legger again. I've gone Jack Siebel to get 20. He'll probably kick it in 20 times. Noah Anderson to get 20 or more, and Jack Lukosius to get 20 or more. They need to get the footy in that bloke's hands because he is a beautiful kick of the footy. And if they get that, that's $2.40. I've put 20 on that.
And they're 2 players, Pez, that we spoke about in the review for the last week, is that they need to show that effort. One thing that Gold Coast do when they play against teams that they should lose against, they sort of put the cue in the rack. But what they have been doing as of late, when they're playing those bottom sides, they're coming out and they're making statements. Those young blokes have the confidence up and running. Those players that we talk about, that need to be standing up against the good teams, they just go about the things and they look amazing. So I'm backing them in to win this game, and I've put a $25 bonus bet. I've got a free hit at this, Pez. $2.26 to get $31.50 return. And I think that's really good value for 2 teams that are down the bottom, which is a coin toss. And if you put the list side by side, Gold Coast have more talent. They should get the job done.
Yeah, I'd also be looking at probably a Gold Coast halftime leader or something as well, because I know it's down in Tassie, but there could be some value in that as well for the listeners there.
All right, we get on to the afternoon time slot, the 4:35 time slot, Pez. Port Adelaide taking on Sydney. This game is in Adelaide. $1.29 favourites for the Power, $3.62 for the Swans, trying to hang on to that top 8 finish for the end of the year. Minus 20.5 is the line, and 160.5, Pez, is the over-under.
Yeah, I think the Power should win this comfortably, which isn't good for Sydney. If Sydney could steal this game, they nearly guarantee a final spot as well. So it is a big game for Sydney. I've got a 3-leg same game multi. I've got Carl Amon to get 20. We spoke about that, $1.36. James Rowbottom to get 15 or more. And Connor Rosey to score a goal. He's been playing in that forward 50 the last couple of weeks. He kicked 5 the week before. He kicked 1 or 2 in the weekend. So anytime goal scorer there. It's $2.37, another 20 on that.
Yeah, love that, Pez. Carl Amon is in my 3-leg same-game multi as well. I think the Power do get this done. I like the line at 20.5. I think it is a little bit low. We know that Port Adelaide like to bully their opponents when they are much better than them. Sydney, you're right. If they can snag this game, it'll be big talking points for Port Adelaide and it'll be really good for Sydney, but I don't see that happening. What I do see, though, Pez, is Carl Amon to get 20 at $1.36. I see Jake Lloyd to get over 25. He'll kick the ball in probably 25 times. And Charlie Dixon to get 2 or more goals. He's done it in the last 3. He's in ripping form at the moment, and I can see that to continue. That gives me odds of $2.40, and I've whacked the standard 25 on it, Pez.
Standard 25, there you go. And we finish off Saturday night with Essendon and Melbourne.
We do, Pez. This is a really interesting one. The bookies have Essendon, despite their impressive last couple of weeks, as massive outsiders at $4. And if you think that they're a chance, Pez, jump all over that line with the impressive football they've been playing. Melbourne, as they should be, are $1.25 favourites, and that's pretty juicy value as well if you think Melbourne are much better, sitting top of the ladder, and they can get the job done. So minus 22.5 is the line, 159.5 is the over-under, Pez. I'm staying clear of this game because both teams are extremely unpredictable, and this can go literally either way.
I'm not going to stay clear of this one, Sauce. So I've put a little multi together here. I think Melbourne, after being disappointing in a few performances, really need to come out and do this. They've lost to Adelaide, they've lost to Collingwood. They really need to win here at the MCG. I think Essendon better suited to Marvel Stadium, so I think Melbourne can run over the top of them here and really get a good lead. I've put Dyson Heppel to get 20 or more in his role at halfback. Salem down the other end to get 20 or more because another beautiful kick in the AFL, and they want to get the ball in his hand. My man, Cozzy Pickett, he hasn't been kicking goals lately, Sauce, but as anytime goal scorer, a little bit more value this week because he hasn't been doing it. And I've put Melbourne in there head-to-head. So $2.30 all up, and I'll put 20 on that.
Do you know what he is to kick one goal at the moment off the top of your head, Pez? Or?
Off the top of my head, I can't get it, but I'll get it before the next game.
All right, well, I'll get into the next game, which should be an absolute cracker. GWS Giants taking on Hawthorn. We get into our Sunday games, of course. This game is at 111. They've got it at Sportsbet, so very precise here. They've got the quarantine. Got the quarantine aspects down to a T to the minute. $1.63 favourites for the Giants. Hawthorn coming outside as $2.28 after their gallant but routine sort of performance against Essendon. Minus 6.5 is the line, Pez, and over-under is 155.5.
Only 6.5, and this game's been moved, hasn't it?
Juicy. It has been moved, yes.
MCG.
Because of the New South Wales issues in terms of the quarantine. But it is a home game for the Giants at the G, so they'll love that.
Oh, they will love that. That's probably why the line's so low at 6.5. If it was down up at Giants, that line would be up 14.5 somewhere there. But I think the game before, Cozzy Pickett, $1.20 to kick a goal. He's been sitting $10, $11 for the last few weeks.
Beautiful 10 cents extra there, please. Hopefully he can get it done.
Yeah, with Hawthorn, one player I really like watching earlier in the season got injured, and he's come back into the side last week, got 18 disposals, is Will Day. So Will Day down there, $1.25 to get you 15. Value. Really good value there. So I've put him in my same game multi. I'll put Greater Western Sydney just to win, not playing around with the line or anything. $1.63 I think they were there when I got on them. And I had to put 3 legs in, and I wanted to go pretty safe. So I'll put Toby Greene to kick a goal. Only get you $1.04, but it's only in there so I can try and get that bonus if one of those fails.
And that's what you want, Pez. You want to be trying to guaranteeing that last leg. And as we spoke in the preview, he is absolute money for VBs, Pez, to kick a goal. And I love what you said there about if this game was played at Sydney, the line would probably be at 14.5, Pez. And I think that's exactly what GWS win by. I've gone with an alternate line on Sportsbet with my last bonus bet. $2.30 for them over 15.5. I think that their team is list-wise really rolling. Hawthorn have been gallant. They haven't been impressive by all means. They don't have the cattle there to compete. And the form Toby's Greene in, he'll probably win it off his own boot anyway. I think they're really starting to click. They need this win to have their season alive. They're playing at the G. We know that they can perform at the G. And I've backed him in at $2.30 and the bonus bet on that one.
Oh, there you go. The bonus bet backing in the underdogs in a few games, and then the little line on the Giants. I like it. If memory serves me correct, we've got 2 games left, Sauce, and no cheeky's been played yet.
No cheeky's been paid yet, Pez. So
that's what the listeners are here for.
That's what they're here for, Pez, and that's exactly what they'll get, I'm sure, in the next 2 games. We've got the West Coast Eagles taking on the Western Bulldogs, Pez. $1.77 favourites for the Eagles and $2.10 for the Doggies. Minus 3.5 here is the favourite towards the Eagles, and the line is the over-under is 152.5.
Mate, great game here, especially with what Bulldogs did last week. Really impressive. I think the travel and the loss of a couple of really key players for them is really going to hurt them because West Coast have been used to missing those players that they've got out of the side at the moment, including Shuey. So I think West Coast win this one, Sauce.
Cheeky!
I've had to make it a little bit cheeky, but I've gone a 4-legger same game multi. So if one of them fails, Sauce, I'm going to hit that cheeky 10 back and have a little bit of a bonus bet on my cheeky next week. But hopefully they all get up. I think West Coast win this. So I've gone West Coast 1-39 in a big win, little win. But I've also got them at the line -3.5. So what that means is West Coast need to win between 4 and 39 points. So any less than 4, no good. Any more than 39, no good. I'll put the over 152 over there on Sunday, middle of the day. Beautiful weather. I think there can be some scores there. So if it's 75-75, that gets you around 150. So 80-75, something like that scoreline. That'll work there. And Jack Darling hasn't been kicking the goals, but I really love watching him as a forward, and he's really strong contested mark. I think he scores 2 or more goals. So it's $7.25 all up, Sauce. Put the cheeky 10 on it, and fingers crossed.
Yeah, we must have had the same sort of round here. Pez, get to the end of there and go, right, not sure about the value here. We'll whack one on, and I've done something a little bit
Cheeky
as well. And I love your West Coast 1-39 bet. That's exactly what I had. $2.20 on its own, Pez, which is incredible value. You can't see the Eagles, if they do win, blowing out the Doggies. And I agree. I think the fatigue aspects of them quarantining, especially coming off a pretty upsetting loss last week, will mean that they won't be able to get the job done over in Perth. I've got the over-under. I think this game is going to go over the 152.5 pairs. I think it is going to be a high-scoring affair.
Were you just listening to me? Jeez.
Yeah, I was. And then Elliot Yeo to get 20 or more disposals. Him coming back and having a couple of reps under his belt, I think he should get 20.
He's had a great impact since he's come back.
It's been amazing, Pez. So I really love that value, and I was a little bit surprised that it gave me odds of 6.75, Pez. So originally I had that as just a normal bet, and then I'm like, you know what, that's my cheeky, so you little ripper. But I put 25 on it because that's what I originally had on it. So I have broken the rules in that, Pez, but I love that bet because I think it's absolute value, and it classifies as a cheeky, so I enjoy that.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to get to our multi because Carlton Adelaide, I've got no interest.
Yeah, I've got no interest in this one either way, Pez, but we better allow the Carlton fans to have their day, because if they lose this one, it is going to be absolute panic stations. And the bookies have it, this being a little bit closer than probably their ladder on the position would sort of, probably the ladder on the season, ladder of their position at the start of the season when people predicted them. Carlton come in as favourites, $1.53, a not convincing $1.53, the Pez, may I say. $2.52 for the Crows. The line is -10.5. No one in their right mind is touching that.
I'm not
the
touching it with your money.
over-under is 172.5, Pez. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah, as I said, I'm not touching it with your money. I'm not touching it with my worst enemy's money anyway. So I've got no bet in this one. But interesting stat I heard during the week, if this is true. In the last 10 years, Mick Malthouse has won the most games as a Carlton coach.
Oh, wow. Jesus. That's not something
That's not something you want.
That's not something anyone would want to rave about, even Mick Malthouse for that one. This one here, Pez, normally I would stay away, and this is no different at all, Pez, but one thing I can't do, Pez, is I can't tell you what I'm leaning towards in terms of a bet here, because I don't like the odds in terms of the team's going to win. I hate the line. The over-under in my regard is it's the highest it's the highest over-under of the round, and I don't think that's value at all. So I'm steering clear, and I would recommend punters to steer clear.
Yeah, if I had to go in something, I would have probably said off the top of my head a Harry Mackay 3+ goals, but it only gets you $1.53.
It's not worth it.
You're not putting that in there.
You might, because if he does that, you say Carlton wins. So you might as well do that with Carlton, because you've got more chance of that happening than him kicking 3. And you know what I mean? Like, it's the same value.
So it's not any good there. But we head into our multis, Sauce, and this is where it's at. I've gone with Tab with that 3+ head-to-head multi. I'll put Port Adelaide in there at $1.32, Melbourne in there at $1.26, and GWS at $1.62. Altogether, gets me odds of $2.69. I'll whack the max 50 on this multi-source because I do like those 3 teams to win this week.
Yeah, I agree with 2 of them, Pez. I agree with all 3 of them, actually, but I've only included a different one. So I've got Port Adelaide to win, $1.32, GWS Giants, $1.62, and Richmond to win at $1.20. That gives me odds of $2.56 with Tab. Put the 25 on it, Pez, for a nice 64 return. Yeah,
well, you got to enjoy that. And up and about in a bet slip this week, full of confidence by the sounds of things. And we'll be very disappointed if this round turns to shit. But let's enjoy it. A full round of footy again, so I'll know what I'll be doing all weekend. And it's great to be back, isn't it, Sauce?
It is great to be back, Pez. But before you boot, because it looks like you've packed up the sticks there, keep the spirit up and about, because we get into our coin toss.
It was a toss of the coin.
That 5 wins the toss.
Yes, it's been an unusual year
for joint tosses.
Drives it beautifully. Ranger, big time again.
And how can you not be up and about, Pez? That nice little tune there, get you bumping. I saw you
does,
shaking the
yes,
fist over there. Got some dance moves coming out this Friday, have you, Pez?
The old head bop. It's good. It's good.
All right, the way this works, Pez, short and sweet, just like my little betting career, my little time on the island, short and sweet.
You're going to call your career. Your betting career's over, isn't
My
it?
short and sweet betting time on the island I was talking
Yep,
about there, Pez.
yep.
So unlike this intro, we'll keep it short and
Oh,
sweet.
can I
where
say
we just
something?
go.
Bloody Eddie Maguire. Bloody hate listening.
I give Pez the line, and both of us give our pick of which way it's going to swing. So Brisbane Geelong -5.5.
Oh, I'm Geelong.
Wow, I thought you would have tried to claw one back there, Pez. You know
No.
I'm with the Cats in that one. Richmond versus St Kilda -27.5.
Richmond.
Richmond, I'm the same, obviously following my bet slip there. North Melbourne Gold Coast -6.5 in favour of the Kangas.
North Melbourne.
Oh, here we go. Head to head. I've gone +6.5, of course, with the Suns there to get the upset. Collingwood versus Fremantle -5.5. Pez, we're going to follow my rundown, not your rundown. So
The Pies.
the Pies for that one. Yeah, I think I might go with the Pies at 5.5. Port Adelaide versus Sydney -20.5 in favour of the Power.
Oh, this is a tough one because
This is
I
a
think
tough
Sydney
one.
can come in. Port Adelaide.
I'll take the Power in that one. Essendon Melbourne -22.5 in favour of the D's.
Melbourne.
Melbourne for me too. The Giants and Hawthorn -6.5 in favour of the Giants.
GWS.
Thank you for 2. West Coast versus the Doggies -3.5 pairs. I know that you're going with West Coast in that one.
I've got him in the multi.
And I'm following suit for that. Carlton versus Adelaide, probably the most interesting one and probably the biggest coin toss that we've had in our careers, Pairs. -10.5.
Stadium,
How do we play this
10.5.
one?
Can it be under a goal?
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
Come on, Harry Mackay. Carlton.
No, I'll stick with the Blues -10.5.
Soft.
Put your head out of it, Pairs. Talking about soft, have you got a coin toss for me, man?
No, I'm waiting for the coin toss for you. This is my favourite part of the show.
I did mine last week,
No,
which
it's-
Tassie ground was better, and I stuffed it up completely.
Yeah,
You picked
yeah.
nowhere, so surely it's your turn there, Pez. Look
Nah.
at you looking, scanning around the kitchen, trying to find something to
No,
compare it to.
no chance. I look forward to these coin tosses because I started off with the first 4 weeks, and then you've got 4 weeks on you.
No.
You've only done 3.
I read them all out, Pez. Surely that's.
You've only done 3.
All right, I'll go one before you, Pez. Neds or Ladbrokes?
The same company with different specials at sometimes, isn't it? We'll go Neds because I like orange better than red.
Yeah, I've gone Neds because they gave me a nice little bonus bet deposit.
I thought you would have gone Ladbrokes. Bean sauce, bit of red.
There's no need for that name calling there, Pez. Come on, let's finish it up.
All right. Well, I don't have a coin toss for you, obviously.
Disappointing.
Disappointing. I won't have one for you next week then. But we've got 9 games of footy. Best of luck in your punting and your tips this week. Make sure you jump onto @BehindTheBound on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook because we've got everything going on over there. I'm Bean Pez. Peace out.
Make sure you jump on, give us a review, 5 stars as well. And if you're on Spotify, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That really helps us move up the rankings. I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.